Welcome to Whisper Tales, where every whisper hides a nightmare. 99% of you guys are just watching but not subscribing. If you love spine-chilling horror stories that keep you up at night, then hit subscribe and join our dark journey, because the next tale might be about you. It started, like it always did, with the letter. A thick cream envelope. Red wax seal. Mailed from Hollow Creek, Missouri, a town so small it didn't appear on most maps. Inside, in flowing cursive, were just 3 words. It's your turn. June had dreaded this day since childhood. Every cousin, every sibling, every niece and nephew got the same letter when they turned 27. She'd seen the toll it took on them, how they came back, different. Or didn't come back at all. She thought moving to Chicago would spare her. That building a new life away from that side of the family would break the pattern. But the letter still found her. She crumpled it and threw it in the trash. Then the call came. "June, it's Aunt Myrtle," said the raspy voice on the other end. "You've received the letter, haven't you?" "I'm not doing it," June snapped. "You don't have a choice," Myrtle replied calmly. "None of us ever have." Hollow Creek hadn't changed. The town looked frozen in the 1950s. White picket fences, diners with neon signs, and that same eerie stillness after 8 p.m., like the whole town held its breath at night. June pulled into the gravel driveway of the old Whitaker family house, a Victorian-style home sagging at the edges, its windows black like dead eyes. Inside, the rest of the family was already gathered. 12 of them in total. 12. Always 12. Her mother, aunts, uncles, and cousins. All dressed in black. All wearing a silver pin shaped like a keyhole over their hearts. She hadn't seen them in years. Not since Nathan, her cousin, went through the tradition 3 years ago. He was missing from the room. "Where's Nathan?" she asked quietly. Aunt Myrtle stepped forward. "He fulfilled his part. And now it's your turn." Dinner was stiff and silent. No one spoke about what was coming. They talked about the weather. About June's job. About Cousin Rachel's new baby. But under the surface, fear hummed like an electric wire. After dessert, Myrtle stood. "It's time." Everyone rose, almost automatically. June followed them out the back door and across the yard to the family crypt, an old stone structure behind the house, overgrown with ivy and covered in strange, weathered carvings. She hadn't seen it in years. Not since her grandmother's funeral. But it looked different now. Bigger. And the carvings weren't just decorative. They were names. Dates. And symbols that resembled eyes. One by one, the family stepped inside. Inside the crypt, a spiral staircase led deep underground. Deeper than it should. June's ears popped as they descended. The air grew colder. And darker. Until finally, they entered a long, arched chamber lit by candles embedded in the walls. In the center was a stone table. On it sat an old black book, bound in what looked like cracked leather. And beside it, an iron mask. Its surface was carved with runes and a single vertical slit where the eyes should be. June took a step back. "No. Absolutely not. What the hell is this?" Her mother placed a hand on her shoulder. Her eyes were hollow, emotionless. "You'll wear the mask," she said. "And you'll read a passage from the book. Then you'll be judged." "By who?" June cried. No one answered. June was shaking as she approached the table. The mask was warm to the touch. Almost alive. When she placed it over her face, it clamped shut with a hiss. Darkness swallowed her. She felt herself falling, not through space, but through something thicker. Memory. Bloodline. Grief. A voice echoed in her head. "You have been chosen. One must carry the burden, so the others may feast." She saw flashes. Her cousin Nathan, eyes wide, mouth sewn shut. Her grandfather, on his knees in the forest. Her great-grandmother, burning a cradle in the middle of a cornfield. Generations of pain. Generations of offering. When June removed the mask, the room was empty. The candles had burned low. The book was open, and her name was now written inside it. The next morning, Marcus awoke with a start. Sunlight streamed through the old lace curtains, painting strange patterns on the wooden floor. He sat up, expecting to hear birds, maybe a car or two outside. But there was nothing, just an eerie, overwhelming silence. He rubbed his eyes. Where is everyone? Slipping into jeans and a hoodie, Marcus crept down the creaky staircase. The house smelled faintly of pine and something older, something metallic. In the kitchen, his mother was silently scrubbing a pot, her knuckles white. Mom? She jumped slightly. Marcus, you're up early. It's nearly 10. She turned, forcing a smile. Her eyes were ringed with dark shadows. Did you sleep well? Not really. I had a weird dream. There was a fire, and that painting in the hallway was. It was just a dream. She interrupted sharply. Then softer. You shouldn't dwell on dreams in this house. It invites memories. Right. He hesitated. Where's Grandpa? Downstairs, she said without turning back around. In the basement. Preparing. For what? The tradition, she said with a tremble in her voice. Marcus blinked. Wait, that wasn't a joke? She didn't reply. Later, the extended family began arriving. Uncles, cousins, great-aunts, many of whom Marcus hadn't seen in years. They moved through the house like ghosts, whispering and avoiding mirrors. One of the younger cousins, Benji, caught Marcus's eye. The boy, no older than 10, clutched a worn teddy bear and wouldn't stop staring at the floor. Marcus crouched next to him. Hey, you all right? Benji nodded slowly. Don't eat the stuffing, he whispered. What? The boy's mother swooped in, snatching Benji's hand. Sorry, he's just tired. Long drive. Her smile was too wide, too rehearsed. As the sun dipped below the trees, the energy shifted. The laughter grew thinner. No one played music or took out their phones. Candles were lit, and long, faded tablecloths were drawn over a table Marcus hadn't seen before, long and made of some dark wood that looked charred on the edges. At 7 p.m. sharp, Grandpa emerged from the basement. He wore an old-fashioned suit, dusty and thick, with a red handkerchief poking from his breast pocket. His eyes didn't twinkle like Marcus remembered. They were sunken and almost gray. Family, he said, raising his arms. Welcome home. It's time. No one clapped. No one cheered. They just filed into seats like prisoners. Marcus hesitated, then sat next to his mother, who wouldn't meet his eyes. The table was set for 20, even though there were only 18 people. Marcus counted again. 2 empty seats, one at the head, and one directly across from him. Strange. Platters of food were brought in, roast meats, mashed potatoes, green beans, and a peculiar gray stuffing. Everything looked delicious, but flat. Too uniform, like stage props. Grandpa cleared his throat. Before we eat, let us recite the lines. The entire table, except Marcus, began to chant in unison. Blood remembers, bones remain. We feed the past to break the chain. Marcus stared. What the hell is this? No one answered. They simply began eating. He watched as his mother took a spoonful of the gray stuffing and placed it on her plate. Then everyone did the same, one by one. He leaned over. What's in that? His mother flinched. Don't ask. Just eat a little. It's safer. Safer? He echoed. From what? Before she could answer, a plate was passed to him with the gray stuffing. It looked like meat, but the color was all wrong, like ashes. And there was a scent, burned hair mixed with iron. Marcus shook his head. I'm not eating that. Grandpa slammed his hands on the table. Everyone eats. That is the rule. Marcus narrowed his eyes. Or what? The room fell dead silent. Or the past comes back, Grandpa said quietly. And it brings him. Him who? Grandpa stared at Marcus for a long time. Then he nodded toward the empty chair at the head of the table. The one who started the feast. Your great-great-uncle. He found the black book buried in the soil of the old land. He read the wrong words. You're kidding. He gave us this tradition. And if we don't feed him, he comes for us. Marcus laughed, standing up. You guys have completely lost it. His cousin Jillian spoke then, eyes wet. For years ago, Uncle Randy skipped the feast. He thought it was bullshit too. Marcus looked around. Where is he? Nobody answered. Then the lights flickered. The candles sputtered as the temperature in the room plummeted. Marcus's breath misted in front of him. Everyone at the table turned their eyes to the empty chair at the head of the table. It was no longer empty. A man now sat there. Or what used to be one. His suit was moth-eaten. His face was gray and bloated, as though he had drowned long ago. And he smiled, rotted teeth and bleeding gums. Marcus stumbled backward. No, that's not possible. The apparition turned his head slowly, and pointed at Marcus. You didn't eat, it said, voice like cracking stone. Marcus backed away as chairs screeched and people screamed. The figure stood, and the room was swallowed in darkness. Marcus awoke on the kitchen floor, his head pounding, mouth dry as cotton. The old chandelier above him swung slightly, creaking like a noose. Disoriented, he blinked several times before memories from dinner slammed back into his brain like a hammer. The gray stuffing, the chant, and the horrifying man who appeared in the chair. And he had pointed at him. The lights had died. The family had screamed. And then darkness. He staggered upright, glancing around. The dining room was empty now, eerily pristine as if no dinner had happened. The table had been cleared, the chairs pushed in. The seat where the dead man had sat was gone entirely. A chill crawled up Marcus's spine. Mom? He called out, his voice dry and cracked. Benji? Grandpa? Silence. He checked his phone, but it was dead. Not low battery dead, dead as if someone had drained its very essence. The silence of the house pressed on his ears. He moved cautiously, the old floorboards groaning beneath each step. On the wall hung the family portrait that had always unnerved him, sepia-toned and ancient, with 20 seated family members from nearly a century ago. Except, now there were 21. A new face had been added. His. He stumbled back, nearly knocking over a lamp. What the hell? He rushed upstairs to find his mother. Her bedroom door was open, the sheets on the bed neatly made. Her suitcase sat by the closet, half-zipped. There was no sign of her. Or anyone. From the window, the outside world looked wrong. The trees were stiff and shadowless, the grass too still. No birds. No cars on the old country road. The entire world had frozen. He bolted to the hallway and shouted, I'm done with this! Do you hear me? A door creaked behind him. The basement. Marcus turned slowly. The door hung ajar. Blackness oozed out from the stairwell like liquid smoke. Of course it's the basement, he muttered. He grabbed a flashlight from the kitchen drawer and descended, each step echoing unnaturally. The smell hit him halfway down, rot, mold, and copper. The light barely pierced the gloom, revealing a massive basement chamber that had been expanded far beyond what the house's foundation should allow. Strange symbols were carved into the stone walls, circles within circles, crude human forms with blank faces, a spiral that made his stomach churn just looking at it. In the center of the room stood a banquet table identical to the one upstairs. Except this one was charred, burnt to cinders and somehow still standing. Atop it lay dishes, moldy bread, congealed meats, and a bowl of the gray stuffing that seemed untouched by decay. His grandfather sat at the head of the table. Except it wasn't really him anymore. His eyes were completely black, and his hands were charred as if he'd held fire. His voice was two voices in one, Grandpa's and something else layered beneath it. You didn't eat. Marcus stepped back. You people are sick. This is a cult. A damned insane cult. This is survival, Grandpa said. Our blood made a deal, Marcus. A pact to bind the hunger. The stuffing feeds it, feeds him. Him? Marcus shouted. That thing at the table? That walking corpse? It's not a corpse, Grandpa said. It's the founder. He binds the hunger. But if we don't feed him every year, it chooses someone instead. Marcus blinked. Wait. Feed who? The floor beneath him rumbled. A sound filled the basement, not a scream, but the memory of screams. A vast, inhuman hunger. Something beneath the floorboards. Something ancient. It's under the house? Marcus gasped. Not under, Grandpa said. Within. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, Benji. His eyes were glassy, and he walked like a puppet. In his hands he held a pewter tray. On it was a single spoonful of the gray stuffing. No, Marcus said. Get away from me. Benji held it out. He's hungry, Uncle Marcus. I said no. But the room rumbled again, and the walls began to bleed. Yes, bleed. Thin rivulets of red snaked down the stone, and a low moan rose from the table as the moldy food began to writhe. The stuffing pulsed, throbbing like a heart. Grandpa stood. Eat it, or the house becomes him. Forever. We'll all be trapped. We've kept him fed for 142 years. Don't break the line. No, Marcus said. I'm not feeding your nightmare. And then a voice spoke, not Grandpa's, not Benji's. It came from the table itself, wet and slithering. Then, you will feed me instead. The floor split open. A black void beneath the house yawned wide, and out of it rose a face. No, not a face. A mask of flesh. A creature made of regrets and bones, stitched together by memory and blood. It had eyes, dozens of them, each one screaming. The candles blew out. The house groaned like it was weeping. Marcus turned and ran. He burst through the basement door and sprinted down the hallway, the walls now warping around him. Photos melted, lights popped, and the door out of the house stretched farther and farther away. Then crack. The ceiling above split open, and the creature's tendrils slithered down, grabbing at him. One brushed his arm, and his skin turned gray instantly, aging 40 years in a heartbeat. He screamed and dove into the pantry, slamming the door shut behind him. Everything fell silent. His breath heaved in the tight space. Then, faintly, he saw it, the old family recipe book. The same one his mother used for stuffing every year. It was open to a page titled, Binding the Ancestor. He read quickly. One must consume willingly. But if the chosen does not feed the line, then the hunger takes the soul and memory. To banish it, the tradition must be broken by fire, blood, and truth. Fire, blood, truth. He looked at his hand, still gray from the creature's touch. He had no time left. He darted out, ran to the fireplace, and grabbed the lighter fluid from the cupboard nearby. With shaking hands, he drenched the table in the dining room. Grandpa appeared again, roaring, "No! You'll doom us all!" But Marcus didn't stop. He lit a match and threw it. The table exploded into flames. The air screamed. All around him, the house cracked, burning fast and bright. The creature above howled, a howl filled with centuries of starvation, and began to unravel like smoke in sunlight. Grandpa burned. Not like flesh burns, but like lies do, his body splitting into 1,000 versions of himself before disintegrating. Marcus ran. Out the front door. Into the cold night. He collapsed on the grass, coughing, as the house behind him was swallowed in fire. Screams rose from the windows, some human, some not. And then silence. Morning came. Fire trucks arrived, but there was nothing left to save. No records of a family reunion. No evidence of a basement, or the strange long table. The house had collapsed inward, leaving only ash and black earth. When investigators asked Marcus what happened, he just said, "Bad traditions die hard." And for the first time in generations they stayed dead. Marcus didn't sleep for the next 3 days. He sat in a roadside motel off the I-85, miles away from the scorched ruins of his ancestral home, watching the same news clip loop over and over. House fire claims historic property in rural Georgia. Investigators say no bodies were found. No bodies. But Marcus knew what he saw. What he survived. The memories refused to fade. His grandfather's voice echoing in the basement. The ancient creature, the hunger, writhing beneath the floorboards. The gray stuffing that pulsed like a heart. The family portrait changing. And Benji. Was Benji even real anymore? Or had the house consumed his soul like it tried to do with Marcus? He couldn't stop shaking. But something wasn't right. Despite being miles away, Marcus kept waking at exactly 3:33 a.m. every single night. The exact time he saw the hunger rise. Every time he opened his eyes, he'd hear whispers, muffled prayers echoing through his motel walls, though no other guests were there. And in the mirror, sometimes his reflection didn't match his movements. Something had followed him. On the fourth night, Marcus dreamed of the table again. It wasn't burned. It was whole, clean, pristine. And everyone was there. His grandfather. His mother. Benji. Even distant family members he didn't know. They were seated in complete silence, watching him at the head of the table. In front of him sat a bowl of gray stuffing. His mother's voice whispered, "If you don't end it, someone else will have to begin it again." He awoke sweating. And that's when he made the decision. He couldn't run anymore. He needed answers, not from the house, but from the roots of this curse. Marcus drove to Atlanta's historical archive, a towering brick building that smelled of yellowing paper and secrets. He requested records on his family going back to the 1800s. What he found chilled him more than any ghost. His family didn't just come from Georgia. They founded the town his grandfather still called Dunn's Hollow. In 1877, his great-great-great-grandfather Silas Dunn made a pact, according to old diaries and unsent letters, with something he described as a god of preservation. Silas had lost 4 children to starvation. He wrote about a ritual he discovered from the dark ones who came before, and he claimed it, fed the land, in return for one thing each year, submission. Every year, the family would cook a special meal. A meal of memory and marrow, and consume it together at the stroke of 3:33 a.m. Those who refused were taken. Over time, they called it the tradition. And it worked. The town thrived while others withered. The family grew rich. But the cost was eternal. One page was smeared in dried blood, scrawled in shaking handwriting. If the line breaks, the hunger must feed. It will choose. It will consume. It will become. And then, a final warning. The only way to end the pact is to feed it the first blood, where it began. And no one who carries the line shall remain untouched. Marcus sat for hours staring at those words. He was the last of the line. Benji was gone. His mother was missing. Grandpa was dust. If he ended it, he'd be ending his own bloodline. But he knew what he had to do. Underscore 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 underscore. The return to Dunn's Hollow. He returned to the town in the dead of night. Only now it wasn't listed on any GPS. The town signs were gone. The roads cracked and swallowed by vines. As if the land wanted to erase itself. Yet when he reached the hollow where the house once stood, the foundation was intact. And in the center of the ash-covered basement? The table. Whole again. Waiting. He didn't bring stuffing this time. He brought the family's founding diary, a knife soaked in his blood, and a photo of Silas Dunn from the archives. Marcus stepped into the center of the table and whispered the final prayer from the last diary page. Take what you gave. Feed what you built. Let this line yendi. The ground shook. From the earth below, the creature rose one last time, but it looked different. Smaller. Hungrier. Its dozens of screaming eyes stared directly into Marcus's soul. Marcus held out the photo. This is the one you made the deal with. Not me. Take it back. Take him back. The creature paused. For a moment, time felt like it stopped. And then it screamed. The air turned white. A cyclone of ash and voices swirled around him. He felt his blood boil. His skin blistered. The ground cracked open and swallowed the table whole. And in one final flash, silence. When Marcus woke, it was morning. The hollow was green. Alive. Birds chirped. No table. No ashes. No hunger. The house was gone, completely, like it had never been built. He looked down at his hand. The gray stain was gone. The curse was broken. As he walked away from the hollow, he saw something strange in the distance, a small group of children playing near an old creek. One of them looked up at him and smiled. "Morning, mister," the boy said. "Nice day, huh?" Marcus smiled for the first time in days. "Yeah, it really is." He drove home. And he never celebrated Tradition Night again. Because now, there was no one left to remember it. And nothing left to feed.